The day this video is uploaded marks the 1-year anniversary of Bashar al-Assad being overthrown, and for it, I've decided to make a Well, first of all, what is Syrian Warfare? Syrian Warfare is a 2017 strategy game based on, you guessed it, the Syrian Civil War. The game includes 7 missions and 2 DLC. The DLCs include Return to Palmyra, which focuses on the 2017 Palmyra offensive against ISIS. The second DLC, called Syrian Battlefields, is the version of play missions from the Steam Workshop, as well as allowing us to make our own missions, which I don't understand, as I don't understand how to code, as well as most of the tutorials being in Russian. This DLC also includes free missions from the game devs that have to be downloaded from the workshop. The missions, though, aren't really the best. So, what is the game about? We play as a Syrian police chief who rises through the ranks of the Syrian army fighting al-Nusra all across the nation. We fight from Damascus to Palmyra to even the Turkish border. So first, let me give a quick rundown of missions. I will try to make this load relatively short to get into other sections of the video. The game starts off with us meeting our protagonist, Anwar. Anwar is the Syrian police chief on a town in the outskirts of Aleppo, where this mission takes place. We take the chief Wazir to meet the al-Nusra leader, Wahid, not to be confused with Wazir, our main antagonist. Wahid tells Wazir to lay down arms, and Wazir gets killed. We then have to defend the police station from a small attack. After gaining reinforcements, we have to repel another attack whilst defending the city's masjid. Afterwards, we are granted reinforcements, but not in a standard way. We receive a BMP and engineers to fortify the town. Now, let me explain reinforcements. There are 3 columns in the reinforcements tab: Reserve, Garrison, and Vanguard. Reserves are units you can spend command points on to use. Command points are given after every mission based on how many enemies are killed, as well as how many of your men die. Garrison units are units that you can use without spending command points. These can either be from previous missions or captured equipment. The Vanguard is forces that will be used. Now, you can't just spam units. There is a limit shown on top, showing how many infantry, vehicles, APCs, IFVs, tanks, artillery, and then helicopters you can use. al-Nusra sends them one more attack with IFVs and a ton of suicide bombers. At this point, our forces are exhausted, and we have to protect civilians to get out. Our next explosion takes place on the coast of Latakia with the goal of capturing a road from al-Nusra control. After taking out a small squadron defending a house on the road, we can further focus on the objective. After taking out small amounts of al-Nusra fighters along the road, we then have to repel back to the house, as al-Nusra will then send a large attack. To assist with this, a BTR is provided with police squads inside to ease the load. Afterwards, we get our first tank encounter in the game that must be taken out. The easiest way is with the ATGM truck near the house, which can be captured and used in other missions. Afterward, the next task is to provide cover to a military convoy passing through that must be protected. Afterwards, the mission is complete. Taking place in Latakia, the mission starts off with clearing out a point. After that, we are set to capture other points. These include an industrial point and 3 points of a town. After we capture the first lower part of the town, we are granted military forces for the first time in the game. We are told to go assist another unit in the sector near the industrial zone. After the second capture, we are granted Russian forces for the first time in the game as well, which is historically accurate, and I will get into it later. The Russian forces are a real game changer in this mission. It's basically a well-equipped infantry squad on steroids. After capturing all points, the mission is over. Instead of the game giving us a shorter mission so we can really know how to use military forces, we are shipped off straight to Damascus, the capital of Syria. There are 4 points to capture: a weapon storage, construction site, mosque, a roundabout filled with artillery units. After capturing the first point, we are granted Russian airstrike operators for the first time in the game. I won't get into all the optional missions as I want to keep this part short. I do want to highlight that this map is very beautiful. It captures a mainly downtown urban Damascus very well, with tall buildings and stuff, so I just really want to get it. Sadly, this is by far the worst mission in the game, which is a real shame as it is based off an event which people genuinely thought would start World War III. I will get into this historical event later, but right now I'm just going to explain how bad the mission is. I kid you not, like, 60 to 70% of the gameplay of this mission is moving around troops. That's it. We basically have to move our forces up a hill, go assist Russian forces that are trapped, move all the way across the map to go attack another, move all the way back to the Russian forces, and you keep doing this as you run out of the supplies, and then have to go back to supplies, so it's just really annoying. When I was recording this, I stopped halfway through because I just did not want to play this mission again. Although I'm sure if one of you plays this game, you're gonna find the mission cool or good, which is, everyone's subjective to their own opinion. With the 6th mission, we begin with a new unit, Russian GRUs, or the Russian Intelligence Agency. The Russian forces are here to confirm the death of the Al-Nusra leader in the sector, who was supposed to be at a Al-Nusra camp, but his convoy was attacked. The task is to confirm where he was located. Afterwards, we were granted Syrian forces and have to capture 3 points. The building the leader was in, outside of town, in an industrial zone. After capturing the building he was in, we were granted helicopters and a chance to use the Russian Mi-24. After capturing the other points, the enemy launches a huge counterattack, which you need helicopters and all hands on deck. The mission starts, again, similar to the first mission, where instead of having the chance to deploy reinforcements into the area, we instead start off with a Russian forward air operator. Your task was clearing out ISIS training camp. Afterwards, we then have to destroy a convoy. After no matter what you do, the air operator will die, as this is based on an actual historical event, which I will get into later. Afterwards, we are given Syrian forces and are tasked with clearing out a castle. When this is done, multiple points are to be captured, and the ruins of Palmyra must be protected from V-beds, or suicide bombers. One of the points is an ISIS checkpoint. When taken, you can advance into a nearby town to take out AA units, which will allow the first use of Russian Mi-28s in the game to come. When Russian Mi-28s come, the mission is basically over in a few minutes. After explaining the missions, what makes the game stick out from others? Well, it's what the game is about. Most strategy games are based off either World War II or the medieval era, but Syrian Warfare is one of the few strategy games based on the Syrian War. But then, what separates it from other Syrian War games? Well, it's the realism and how the game is played. This game actually uses equipment that the army would actually use. Let's look at a few vehicles in detail. All vehicles in game are the ones used by Syrian forces, and are even modeled after them pretty closely. So, let's look at a few vehicles in the game. Let's first look at helicopters. The helicopters that we are able to use, excluding the Russian Mi-24 and Mi-28, is the Mi-17, a Soviet and Russian utility, transport, and gunship helicopter, which is also the helicopter that the Syrian army had used. In this game, we are given both the options of unguided rockets and ATGMs. Somehow, we aren't given barrel bombs, which is definitely a miss from the developers.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Dariya.
The next section is artillery. Here I won't be focusing on the 2S1, but instead the TOS1, which is a MLRS artillery system that fires from Mubarak warheads. It is mounted on a T-72 or a T-90 chassis, which the game portrays pretty accurately to real life. The TOS-1 was given to Syrian forces in October of 2015. Russia never officially confirmed the delivery of TOS systems, but instead they just appeared in photos. This is historically accurate to the game. During the 6th mission, the Hema outskirts, we are allowed to use TOS systems. This is realistic to the war, as this mission takes place after November 2016, which is when TOS systems reached the front lines. My last mention of equipment is focusing on the T-90 tank. You may not know, but Russia had actually given T-90 tanks to the Syrian army in late 2015, but the first confirmed usage was in February 2016. The Russians had given T-90 tanks to combat the more common uses of ATGMs, which non-air equipped Syrian tanks couldn't defend against. For instance, here's a T-90 hit by an ATGM.
Oh my God. Allahu Akbar!
And it pretty much shrugged it off with ERA. And here's a T-55 hit with no ERA. Pretty big difference. So with all that said, we are given the tank in the 6th mission, which is plausible as it happens after delivery date of T-90 tanks. The tank is also a beast in game, with it being a game changer in the last mission, especially against ATGMs and other tanks. All missions are based on a real-life battle fought in the war, except one. The Aleppo mission takes place from either 2011 to 2012. This mission is based off first rebel movement around Aleppo and is relatively accurate to the war. Rebel strategies at this time are based off quick and sporadic movement, attacking police stations, military checkpoints, and small military movements, such as vehicles moving around. We can see this perfectly represented in the first mission. Before the attack begins, the local Al-Nusra leader asks Wazir to lay down his arms and join the right side. He also asks Anwar later in the mission. According to Human Rights Watch and early FSA interviews, this was a normal occurrence before attacks. Afterwards, the attack begins and is pretty much standard rebel tactic at the time. We see technicals as well as standard infantry units from the rebels. The only unrealistic part is 2 BMPs and V-beds. BMPs were rare at the time for rebels as they didn't get much of their hands on military stock at the time, and V-beds weren't being mass-produced yet. This mission is probably one of the most accurate so far, or in the entire game, shall I say, based off the Latakia clashes in mid-2012. This mission is based on rebels camping out in the Latakia mountains and looting civilians and military convoys. We first see Al-Nusra fighters destroy cars, which is happening on roads of Latakia. According to Human Rights Watch and local news stations, quote-unquote bandits would be on roads. The game also says that local Al-Nusra fighters were there with BMPs and MLRS technicals. This is true, to an extent, as local rebels in 2012 are starting to be equipped with Turkish arms. Whether these rebels were connected to Al-Nusra is up to speculation. We then have to protect a local convoy passing through to prevent fighters from taking the loot. At this point, rebels would also just attack convoys to capture military loot to bump up further attacks into other cities. This is the 100% most accurate mission in the game, I would say. This mission is based off the September 19th to 20th defense of Bashar al-Assad Airport, or the Latakia Airport. After Russian troops entered Syria, Russian and Syrian officials feared the rebels would send their sights on the Bashar al-Assad Airport, or the Latakia International Airport. On the Bashar al-Assad Airport. When Russian forces were deployed into Syria, they would enter via this airport, deploying cargo planes, helicopter jets, and other equipment. Now, because of the base being in Latakia, Syrian and Russian officials feared that local units would be able to move up artillery to shell Latakia with mortars and maybe even MLRS systems to destroy planes and make the runway unusable because of this. So, the response from the Russian and Syrians was to attack Al-Nusra hideouts in the nearby mountains. The game also puts us in these battles, as in this mission the goal is to recapture land in Latakia to prevent terrorists from mounting an attack. We were also allowed in this mission to use Russian Marines, which is what would have played out in real life. The Damascus mission isn't really based off any operation, but it's based off operations that were happening in Damascus previously or later in the war. In this mission, we are sent clear out sections of Damascus under joint ISIS and Al-Nusra control. Now, this part is completely inaccurate, as Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi announced the formation of the Caliphate in 2013. It would separate itself from Al-Nusra as its own group. This would lead to both groups fighting each other. Al-Nusra views ISIS as Khawarij and unlawful rebellions. The term Khawarij refers to a group that unlawfully attacks Muslim people and rebels against a Muslim leader. Now, another thing to mention is that there was no large battle after September 2015 to November 2015 that involved ISIS or Al-Nusra fighters on a large scale. From this period, neither Al-Nusra or ISIS had made any large-scale movements within Damascus with tanks or artillery, just local fighters. So, this mission isn't really based off any real-life events. Just a mission in Damascus to at least include the capital of Syria. I mean, how could you not? Now, with all that said, it is still a very good mission. This mission is based on the November 2015 incident where a Turkish F-16 shot down a Su-24 bomber that entered Turkey's border. Now, people thought this event would lead to Russian strikes on Turkey, and Turkey would declare an Article 3, which would lead to World War III. The event goes as such. A Russian Su-24 entered Turkey's airspace. Turkey warned the Russians, but they did not listen and were shot down. Both pilots survived the shoot-down, but the pilot, Oleg Peshkov, ended up dying after the rebels shot him when he was descending via parachute. The Russians and Syrians sent out a rescue mission for the pilot, and this we were part of that rescue mission to rescue the Russian navigator. We are said to assist Russian Marines under fire by local fighters. Now, a really interesting part about this mission is that a section of the map is based on this building here, or what I at least think. After that, we are to find the pilot and extract him. Now, this is probably one of the most interesting missions and accurate as well. It gets executed poorly though, as is by far the worst mission in the game, which I already explained earlier. This mission is based off Syrian and Russian forces targeting al-Nusra camps across Syria, which could kill high-ranking members of al-Nusra. In this mission, we are placed in a scenario where we attack a training camp to kill an al-Nusra leader, as well as take the camp itself. This could have happened in real life during this time frame that we are given, from November 24th all the way up to the end of 2015. This is also when we get the T-90 tank and the TOS artillery system, which lines up with real life. So, a pretty accurate mission, if I do say so myself. The last mission is probably the most realistic in terms of realism. In the beginning of the mission, we are able to use a Russian air operator, but not just any. We are in control of Alexander Porokzian. I'm sorry if I say it wrong. I'm just gonna refer to him as Alexander. A Russian forward air operator who made the heroic sacrifice on March 17th, 2015, which we are able to experience in the game. On March 17th, Alexander was constructing airstrikes until ISIS fighters surrounded his position. Instead of fearing for his life and unable to do anything, he'd rather go out the way he wanted to. Knowing he was already dead, not wanting to be captured by ISIS, he would call an airstrike on his position. The airstrike was most likely extremely effective, as it took a while for Alexander's body to be recovered and identified. From plausible transcripts, Alexander stated, quote, "I'm surrounded. They're outside. I don't want them to take me and parade me. Conduct the airstrike. They will make a mockery of me in this uniform. I want to die with my dignity and take all these bastards out with me. Please, my last wish, conduct the airstrike. They will kill me either way." After that, we push for the town and capture it. Another interesting feature about this is that the town is really realistic, from the castle to the outskirts of town to even the town itself, without breaking the limits of the game, of course. So it's not like a huge one-to-one recreation of the town, but it's still pretty accurate. From personal experience, using real tactics will result in the best outcome. In this game, you can't just push tanks through a city and expect it to work, nor can you defend building from an infantry attack without using snipers, or basically an infantry unit. You need to combine infantry together and know what troops to use on each mission. Let's take the mission, the border of Latakia and Heme in Damascus. On the Latakia mission, we are not given a chance to choose, but we can play them smart, basically. On the Latakia mission, we're not given a chance to specifically choose what infantry units we get, but we can play smart with them. When providing assistance to the unit in need of help, the best option would be to send AT units and snipers to combat both infantry and tanks. You're not going to send an offensive squad used for clearing out buildings, like which we would use for clearing out the town. Now let's take Damascus. Most engagements are going to be far or close combat. This would involve snipers and anti-tank units in the back for support. With actually attacking into the area, offensive units would be used. This game also makes tanks and helicopters realistic. Tanks are slow and prone to ATGMs, which require infantry to assist the tank with. You can't just tank spam like what other people have complained about on Company of Heroes Free. With helicopters, you can't just spam them either. A single truck can do huge damage if you're not paying attention. You also can't spam them around the map, just like flying them to different places around and expecting them to win the game for you. That's just not going to work. Here are just other unique standouts in the game that can't really be bunched up into one area, but they're short enough to where I just can't make them its own section. Something rarely found in war strategy games is police, and I think it's an awesome feature. The police played a relatively large role in the early stages of the game, and it works out well because we need the police to kind of help us into the later stages of the game. Police is basically used to help you get used to the game, get used to the mechanics before eventually having military forces and getting into harder missions. The game also has a pretty balanced supply system. The average supply truck in this game is either from 20,000 to 30,000 supply points. Tank shells are usually 200 per shell, while TOS rockets are 1,000 per rocket. That's a whole truck for a full reload. This brings a good amount of balance to the game, so you can't just rain down hell via artillery fire 24/7 in the mission. But at the end of the day, the thing that makes it the most unique from other war strategy games is what it's about. It's about the Syrian Civil War. No other game about the Syrian Civil War is as focused on the military aspects of the war besides this one. It takes you for missions and operations within the war, so it makes you feel like you're fighting in them. This is truly what makes the game special. Now, of course, with every game, there's going to be cons in it, so I'm going to give out the ones I have. The first one is that there's only 2 missions with police. Because it's such a cool aspect, I wouldn't mind if we had at least 1 more mission fully using police. Now, this is more of my opinion. It's not much of a con, just a personal opinion that I have. There's only 7 missions in the game. That's it. Unless you count DLC, that makes it 12 missions. But you could easily make more. Each mission takes upward to 30 minutes to 2 hours. You could very easily finish the game in 1 day without impacting your sleep schedule much. Next is the accuracy of troops. This is a very annoying thing with this game, which makes sense sometimes, not all times. Like, I get it if an infantry unit can't really attack another soldier properly, but it gets really annoying when it's with tanks, or they're up close, or it's even an ATGM. Like, there should be no reason for AT gunners to bottle their shot with a guided missile on a tank that's standing still, or when your tank misses a big up-close shot. Another annoying thing is when your own units will not engage a target right in front of them unless you actively press the target command on an enemy. Like, sometimes your tank will, instead of targeting the tank right in front of it, it will target enemy troops. It's like, if a few, like 30 to 40 meters out or something, it gets really annoying. This is going to be about, like, software, just like performance issues. Sometimes, like, when you try to start up the game, it will just close on you. So it's annoying, but the game will eventually start up after like 1 to 2 times. But this happens rarely to me now. Another really annoying thing when I was trying to record for this video is that when you leave the game and open another window on your PC and then go back to the game, and then if you pause the game to like move around your mouse, it's like moving at 6 or 7 frames per second. But when it's not paused, the mouse moves fine. So yeah, it gets really annoying. But at the end of the day, all this does not really affect the game that much in terms of gameplay. So should you get the game? Yes, you should. It's a very good game. You should buy it. Well, if you made it here, thank you for watching. This is my first attempt at making a decent YouTube video. More to come in the future, hopefully. So subscribe to my channel so I can buy a decent mic instead of using my phone's microphone. So yeah.